What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to TWR. My name is Tavian, and this is my world of reptiles, and I hope you are doing awesome and taking care of yourself. If this is your first time to my channel, please check out some of my other content, and if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and ding the bell so you get notified on future content. And if you are a returning subscriber, as always, you are amazing. Thank you so much for coming through. So today, or lately, I've been doing a lot of kind of reflecting and reminiscing and regretting and resenting. When you're in a hobby for so long, and you end up getting so many animals or whatever, for whatever reasons, you end up getting to a point where you have to make a really, really difficult decision of like, okay, I am this, and that, and I need to downsize. I need to rehome some of these animals, or I need to rehome this one animal, or whatever the case may be. You have to make that really tough decision, and the decision is always so sucky. We hate having to make the decision. We contemplate it, we think about all the ways that we might be able to work around it or whatever, but ultimately you have to make that decision, and it sucks. I know. I've had to make that decision on the occasion myself. However, I also know that it's as sucky as that is. What sucks more, in my opinion, is just the whatever amount of time later, the days, the weeks, the months, the years, when you're sitting there minding your own business and you got the Facebook memories showing up, or you're looking through your Instagram, or you're looking through your old photos, and you see a picture of that animal, or those animals that you rehomed a long time ago, and then it's just like, oh man, I regret it so hard. I regret getting rid of that animal. Like, why did I do that? Like, why? Man, I wish I still had it. Man, I wish I didn't get rid of it. Like, we've all been there. If you've had to rehouse animals, the chances are you went through a moment where, or maybe several moments, where you just think back and you're like, oh, I regret it. I regret it. Why couldn't I have just held on a little bit longer, or, whatever the case may be. Like, I've heard breeders, particularly, who have, like, had this beautiful, awesome clutch, or made this one animal and they were like, oh, this is awesome, they love this so much, but I'll make another one. And then they make some like it, but they'll just never like that one, and they'll think back at it, or they'll see, where that snake is today and see how awesome it is, and they're just like, oh, I regret it. So there's just that regret of just like giving over an animal that you once had, and you valued and you appreciated the time, but for that whatever reasons, you had to let go. And then just that time afterwards, it just sucks, man. And it comes, like I said, I've been there. As a matter of fact, back in like 2020, my mental health was like pretty much at the peak of the COVID stuff. My mental health was going to crap. The relationship I was in was already hanging by a string that really needed to just break. And it was just, in some reason, and for some reasons, or some form of trying to rectify everything and try to fix my disaster of a life, I thought, well, I would downsize my collection. I think I had about 16 at the time, or 16 snakes at the time, and a few other animals, and I ended up getting, I think downsized about 8 of those animals. I can't quite remember, but I downsized a large number of them, and it was a difficult decision to choose which ones I needed to downsize, and then to actually do it. But I did it, and it definitely just needed to happen. I mean, I guess it didn't really need to happen. I have mixed feelings about it today, because there have been plenty of times now since then that I look back and I'm like, oh, I really wish I hadn't gotten rid of that one. There were a couple of them. Like, some of them I'm like, okay, I don't miss them too much. As much as as much as it sucked to let them go, I was also like, they weren't my favorites, but there are some that I look back and I'm just like, why? And I just had so much resentment, and I go through all the emotions again. I get the sadness, the denial, and the anger, the frustrations, and the resentment. The resentment towards myself for making that decision, the resentment towards my ex for me feeling like I needed to do something like that to try to rectify this relationship, or anything like that. I had so much, I get so much, I think about many of those animals, and I'm just like, if that situation happened different, that would have never happened. But one of those animals was, in particular, one that showed up recently on my memories. It was just funny because of reasons. And that was Sarabi. I don't know who's been here long enough to remember Sarabi, but Sarabi was a feisty, attitude having, no fucks to give alligator lizard, and she was not one to be messed with. I got her from Craigslist, and she was a firecracker, dude. She just, she wasn't one to, of all of my animals, she was absolutely the one I was for sure guaranteed to get bit by. She was the one that was the most offensive, and yet she was the smallest one of all of my animals. But they were just, I really loved that species. It was a Craigslist find, my mother who had found it in the wild with her son, and they brought it in, they kept it for a while, but her son was like kind of shifting into snakes and getting less interested in her, and so I ended up finding her on Craigslist, and I took her in, and I was like, wow, I've never even heard of this thing, this is awesome. Did a lot of research. I was like, these are cool species. Of course, also, she's unhandleable because she will try to bite your hand off. And they're like little heads, but she was a feisty thing, and I loved her personality so much, and I spent a lot of time working with her, and like near the end there, I gotten to the point where I could actually reach in and pick her up. Like there was still a chance that, like, she definitely still opened her mouth and she husked, and she definitely still must, but I could actually get in there and get her, and you know, sometimes I could get an actual decent amount of time handling without her actually biting me. So I have made a lot of progress with her, and so I don't know why I made the decision to rehome her, God, but I have regretted it ever since. Ever since I have regretted it, and I have honestly even been on the lookout for it since my life had come back together, and I got my own mental health and my own space, and I get to make my own choices without anybody else's interference or thoughts or anything else. I've been looking for another one. I have been looking for one. I did try to go looking the non wild caught. So I tried to go find a captive bred one, but unfortunately, there is like nobody who are breeding these in captivity right now. Like nobody. When I do find them, I'm finding the Mexican alligator lizards or the whatever other Albronia something. They're green and they're beautiful, but they're like green, like emerald green. They've got like way more like killedness to their alligator pattern thingies or whatever they're called. They're gorgeous. They're gorgeous. Well, I want one, yes, but they're also well outside of my expenses round. They're pretty expensive. And even those, like, they're not commonly found. You can't actually find anywhere that's got those in stock regularly. So when you're looking for, you only find those. And so I didn't really want one of those. I wanted one that was like a southern or a northern alligator lizard, kind of like what I had found, on Craigslist. And that's just never going to happen. She is really the one that got away. That was an experience, unless I actively go out and take one from the wild, which I vowed to myself I would not do again. I did that a long time ago, and it has been since I was a teenager since I've done that. And so I didn't want to do that again. Me personally did not want to go and do that again. I had no problem taking it from them because I didn't take it, they did. But I didn't want to go out and have to do it again. But I was getting close to either being like, okay, scrap the idea of ever getting one again, or go out and get one myself. However, my luck has been to change when one of the staff here at the store, they went out with their family to get a Christmas tree somewhere way out, and they get back all the way back home, and they're trying to set up the Christmas tree, and I guess this alligator lizard fell out of it, and when I heard the story, like I think at the next day or a couple of days later, like I missed the group text, so I heard the story, and I was like, what? Like, what are the chances of you finding an alligator lizard? Like, what, are you serious? You know how long I've been looking for it? Alligator lizard, like, why is this my luck? Why is everybody find the thing? And he was just like, I don't know, but do you want it? And I was like, yes. Yes, I do. Now, I think his intentions were probably to keep it through the winter and probably release it back in spring. I don't know if I want to do that. I'll probably just keep it. Like I said, I'm just not finding them. There's nowhere I can find them where they are captive bred. Like, there's just, I have continuously looked, and they're just not available. But I really, really, really do want to continue to work with the species. And so, yeah, I have another wild caught alligator lizard, which is definitely, everybody's got their own opinions about it. I think right now they're not an endangered species, and they're not anything. They're just kind of out there doing their thing. They're doing thriving. I think taking the occasional specimen is still okay at this point and stuff. But yeah, so I'm super excited. I found one, and I have actually set it up, and so I'm gonna go ahead and get ready for work. Actually, I can't do this right now. I'm gonna get ready for work, and then when I come home later on between my two jobs, I'll call this up real quick, and I will show you the beautiful thing now that I have. I mean, I showed you the picture of when I first found it, but I will show you her when I get back from work and her current setup, which I had fun and a nice time doing, and I have other plans and thoughts of how to make that even better. But for now, I'm already running tight on time. I gotta finish myself some breakfast, and I gotta get dressed. I gotta get ready to work. So I will be back here for you in literally just a second. Alright, and so I am back, and it's actually the next day. It's not the same day. It's the next day. Things didn't go according to plan, but I'm going to jump straight into it. I told you all that I would show you the newest member of our family here today. I got another alligator lizard, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this camera around and show you this beautiful girl here, and then talk a little bit about the enclosure that I have her in right now. So let me turn this around. Boom. There she is. Is she not just so cute? Look at that little face. Now, she's definitely smaller than Sarabi was by the time I actually rehoused her, but I think she's about the same size as Sarabi was when I first got her, so definitely fun. Well, maybe not, because I don't remember Sarabi's head being this small. Her head is so tiny. Now, what the thing is, when they first got her, they thought that she might have been gravid because she looked a little bit thick, but the fact of the matter is they're not actually usually breeding around this time, so I think this may just be kind of like a little bit of a winter chunk rather than a breeding anything. I don't think she's gravid. It is that they usually start to hibernate around this time, or at least start working towards getting hibernated, and so breeding is just not something they're usually doing, so the chances of her being gravid at this point in the year, I think, are pretty slim. But yeah, she is super cute. I'm calling her she because there's not a lot you can go off of. There's definitely something under the scale, like something about scales under the base of their tail, like near the cloaca. She just pooped on me not long ago, so it's a little dirty up under there. But also that I think males tend to have a thicker base at their tail than females do. She doesn't look like she has a super thick base, but I think, if I'm not, yeah, no, I don't know. I'm going off of what I've researched, and I think I have to do a little bit more on that to confirm that if I know if she's a male or female. But I'm thinking she is female. But she's super cute. Now, they were like, I'm not sure where her temperament's gonna be, because when she fell out the tree, she was cold. So, you know, once she warms up, it could be different. And it was a little bit different, actually. She did warm up, and she was a little bit more flighty by the time she had warmed up and whatever. So I did have to chase her just a little bit to get her, but she wasn't still not as fast as Sarabi was, and she didn't open her mouth, she didn't hiss, she let me grab her, she was just kind of a little bit flighty, which is definitely not the same as Sarabi. Sarabi was like flighty, but also like ready to rip your hand off if given the opportunity. So personality-wise, already she seems to be a lot more docile, a lot more or less likely to try to fight, definitely on the more of the freeze when scared than fight in flight, like she flights a little bit, but also freezes in moments. And so it might take some time to just kind of build her confidence with me, so it gets to a point when I go to get her that she won't feel the need to flee as much. But I mean, I do love that she's significantly more handleable than Sarabi. I am really appreciating this a lot. It'll be interesting to know what her personality is going to be like as I get to know her. So, but yeah, she's absolutely stunning. Super, super little cuteness. I'm gonna go ahead and stick her back into her home and then kind of show you what is even going on in there. Go on, bud. You can go. You can go. Go ahead. You can go. Oh, there you go. There you go. Let me get that back down for you. I'm sorry. I lifted that to get you out of there. All right. So let me actually show you what's happening inside of this enclosure. Here, y'all remember this enclosure? This used to be Juicy's. Yes, I still have to replace the background, and I'm going to. But this used to be Juicy's enclosure before Juicy moved up into that. And so this is Juicy's now, and now this belongs to this cutie who I've actually named Kiara. Now, Sarabi was the name of Simba's mom from Lion King, and so I figured, and in memory of Sarabi, and just kind of keep that flow going, I would name this girl Kiara, who was actually Simba and Nala's daughter's name. So I'm gonna go ahead and name her Kiara. So this is Kiara, that's been her home, and so in here I have a nice, like, really green and moss. I have multiple pieces of cork bark. This is just like almost like a half fallen log. Like you would kind of even find those guys in the wild if you were to go out there. You'd probably find them underneath half log pieces and just kind of in the brush. So I tried to emulate that a little bit. So I put like some pieces of cork in here that she could hide under. She could get under this one. There's this whole just kind of trail of a log that she could travel all the way through over to the other side. There's another piece right here that she could hide behind as well as climb. And then there's another piece right here that she could also hide underneath and go over and under and all that good stuff. I also just have this kind of this little live pothos piece here that I had. Whether it will thrive or not, I don't know, but it's in there. I did a bunch of leaf litter, just tried to make it look as naturalistic as possible. Now, what I was thinking about with this particular enclosure, I was thinking about, since she did come from the wild and she'd probably be a little bit less impacted by naturalistic germs and all those things to the point of whatever, I was thinking about going out into nature and actually one of our areas where it's nice and wooded, away from any type of cars and people and all that good stuff, and kind of digging up some more of those more natural forest floor plants that she would come across in nature and kind of putting it in here, maybe making a drainage layer or whatever, and creating this a little bit more natural, like super naturalistic for her. Like go out there and find actual native wild plants that grow under the forest floor trees and just trying to create an actual little forest landscape for her. I was trying to give that when I was putting in the moss and making my choices. Now I gotta fix that background so it looks a little bit better. I gotta actually completely replace it, but once it's done, I was really just trying to make this look as naturalistic as possible, with just lots of greenery and moss like you would find here in our Oregon forest floor. We've got a lot of mossy, knocked over log pieces, and so I was just trying to emulate that here, and I thought it'd be really great to go get some, like, maybe some of the forest little small growing fernies that are out there, and some of the type of little forest floor plants to just kind of fill in, add some height to the decoration, but as well, and just literally make it feel like a forest floor, like when he's moving around or when she's moving about, like she's moving under little tiny plants, and it's not, it just feeling as naturalistic as possible for her. Now, I know that his original intention, like I said, was probably to release her. I don't know if I want to. I probably will keep her permanently because, I mean, look what I've already done. I already made a nice enclosure. I have plans to continue to make it more naturalistic and as actually natural as where she comes from. I mean, she came from this local area. So I can, in theory, actually go out, observe that, and recreate that in exactness. So, I'm interested in trying to do something like that. I think it could be really cool. What do y'all think? What would you do something like that if you had a wild caught animal? Would you go out into the nature that they came from and actually gather wild plants, or does that make you hesitant? I know that in the wild we wouldn't do that for our captive animals, but for an animal that's already wild caught, do you think that would be a problem? Or do you think it'd be okay? I think it'd be fine. But I'm always open to other suggestions. But for now, there he is. I mean, there she is in her lovely home, and it looks so good. It looks so good. It looks like a little outside, little spider house. Anyway, I'm going off. This video is creeping towards 20 minutes. It's going on for a long time. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I will talk more about Kiara. I will talk more about specifically alligator lizards. I will do an actual care guide a little later down the line. Give you guys a little bit more information on that. I'll talk a little bit more about what that would look like breeding-wise if that's something that would ever happen. Because maybe that's something I can do in the world. Maybe I can bring alligator lizards into the captive world and, like, maybe figure out to going down the road, I'm future tripping about projects I can't even begin to take on right now or figure out right now. So I'm going to wrap this video up. You all take care. Love yourselves. I love your loved ones. I love your reptiles. And you all keep spreading those herbs.